All right, some breaking news in the NFL tonight. Not too surprising, I guess, but surprising enough that I think this warrants a video. But it's happened. Bill O'Brien is your first head coach to be fired in the 2020 season. So I figured we would take a look at how we got here and is this the right call? So Bill O'Brien was hired. His first season was 2014. He spent 7 years as the Texans head coach slash GM slash play caller slash everything else except for being held accountable. Uh, Total 100 games, 52 and 48 is his record as a head coach for the Texans. 6 playoff games, 2 playoff wins. But what did him in was this 0-4 disastrous start to the 2020 season. If you take a look at what's happened in this small sample size over the last month, the total points scored for the Texans offense has been 80. Total points allowed is 126 for a point differential of negative 46, absolutely trending in the wrong direction. Their offensive ranks were 29th in points scored, 27th in yards gained. Defense ranked 27th in points allowed, 22nd in points, or 22nd in yards allowed, excuse me. It's kind of amazing to look at this track record behind me as the head coach, where you have one losing season out of 7, you have 4 division titles, and you're coming off back-to-back double-digit season or double-digit win seasons, 11 and 5s, and you're canned after 4 weeks. It's kind of amazing, but I think what the problem was the general manager aspects of it and what we're looking at going forward. Because, as I said in the Week 4 recap video, despite being 0-4, this Texans team has no draft picks in the first and second round for 2021. So he's really backed them into a corner. Taking a look at what he's done as a head coach, because I've got the stats on the board there. In 2014, they were 9-7. His QB1 during that season was Ryan Fitzpatrick. 2015, another 9-7 year. QB1 was Brian Hoyer. 2016, another 9-7 year. QB1 was Brock Osweiler. 2017, 4-12. That was the year that Deshaun Watson was their first round pick, and he ended up tearing his ACL and missing the rest of the season. So they're stuck with Tom Savage. 2018, 11-5. Deshaun Watson gets a full healthy season. 2019, 11-5. Deshaun Watson again. And then in 2020, 0-4, and he's done. So taking a look at the general manager stuff, which is where I think a lot of the criticism comes from, and if he had just sort of let this aspect of the job go to somebody else, he would probably still be employed today. But he decided to take on too much. He thought he was just as good as Bill Belichick, but as we have learned tonight, Bill Belichick is the exception to the rule and not the rule. So the first blunder was giving Osweiler $72 million from the Denver Broncos to sign him from the Denver Broncos. And then he did not work out. And then if you remember, when they got rid of him, they dumped him to Cleveland, and they ended up eating most of that salary just to get rid of him. So hilarious, almost one of those NFL versions of the Bobby Bonilla contract. Second, and it's probably the most damning evidence against him to be fired, and that is the DeAndre Hopkins trade from this past offseason, where he sent DeAndre Hopkins, one of the best, if not the best, wide receiver in the NFL, to Arizona in exchange for David Johnson and a second-round pick. So to not even get a first for one of the best receivers in the game, and then to load up your wide receiver core with a bunch of track stars that can't get open because the offensive line doesn't generate enough pass protection to give Watson time for that to allow that, who are also riddled with injuries, by the way. Will Fuller is, never healthy. Brandon Cooks has concussion problems, and Randall Cobb is just 1,000 years old. Is just, professional malpractice when it comes to NFL general management. So that happened, and I think that is what set off a chain of reactions that led us to where we are tonight. Also, the trades for Laramie Tunsil and Kenny Stills, which was a package deal, he gives up 2 first-round picks and a second-round pick to the Dolphins. And then once he gets Laramie Tunsil and Kenny Stills, he makes Laramie Tunsil the highest-paid offensive lineman in the league. Not even just at his position. The entire offensive line in the league. And then the last pretty nefarious trade was the Jadeveon Clowney trade to Seattle, where they got Jacob Martin and Barkevious Mingo. I don't remember why I stumbled off of that. Barkevious Mingo and a third-round pick. It didn't work out for Seattle because he was a one-year rental. But at the same time, I think the production value that he gave was worthy of at least more than what he got in return. And the defense is not what it used to be. He had 2 seasons with no J.J. Watt, so a lot of people point to that as a reason for them to not do so well. But at the same time, he's had several seasons with J.J. Watt. He has this season right now with J.J. Watt, and it's not working. So, in my opinion, this is the right call. Deshaun Watson was going to get killed playing under this guy. And it's not just, a lot of people thought that, okay, it was, and this has been mentioned already, that it was a tough start to the season because they played the three best teams in the AFC to open up. And that's why they were 0-3 heading into the Week 4 game with the Vikings. But I think what they saw against the ownership saw against the Vikings was enough to make the decision easy because let's face it, I mean, yes, the Vikings played really good football against the Texans, but at the same time, they're still a pretty bad team. The defense is awful. And the fact that it took them an entire half to sort of figure it out and get out of that defensive check and get down the field and start scoring points at a regularly consistent rate speaks volumes that Bill O'Brien just has too much on his plate. So despite him having success, having a winning record, having 4 division titles, playoff appearances, and what have you, this was the right call because him being the general manager was just was an absolute dumpster fire. I mean, you look at the moves behind me on the board, that's not even all of them. There were some moves in the 2020 draft where he traded up more picks to take players in positions he didn't need. And here we are, you're looking at a team that is just trying to figure out its identity, and Deshaun Watson is absolutely being wasted in the early stages of his career. So that is basically it. I'm surprised that he's the first one to get fired. I honest to God thought it was going to be either Dan Quinn or Adam Gase. But so if you had your bets on this, you win. So, and it's funny because I was actually planning on doing the hot seat update where I rank all the seats for the NFL head coaches, and he went and ruined it. So now I have to refigure my rankings and go from there. So we will do a NFL hot seat ranking update sometime this week, probably before the weekend. We'll try to shoot for maybe Friday. But he's the first one to get fired. Surprise, surprise. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.